Okay. In this session, we will solve one problem on the continuous beam, and the problem is something like this. Analyze the beam shown in figure by stiffness matrix method. So, we have to analyze this given beam which is loaded as shown in the figure using the stiffness matrix method. Then we need to draw the shear force and bending moment diagrams. Okay. So, as we have discussed earlier how to use the stiffness matrix method, based on that let us try to analyze the this continuous beam and we will try to draw the shear force and bending moment diagram. Okay. So, here see our first duty, it is to determine the degree of freedom. Degree of freedom, or even we can call it as DOF. So, DOF is equals to. So, this we have to determine based on the usual observation. Now, you can see the support A, it is fixed in the nature. So, I can say here the freedom is 0, whereas support B, it is hinged in the nature. So, we have 1 degree of freedom here, and support C, it is also on the hinge. So, it is also having 1 degree of freedom. So, totally we have the 2 degree of freedom. So, I will write DOF as 0 plus 1 plus 1, that is 2 degree of freedom, right. So, once we determine the degree of freedom, our next duty is to assign the coordinate systems. So, what I will do, I will assign the coordinate system. So, for assigning coordinate system, let me draw the figure as it is. Okay. So, here what I will do, I will assign the coordinates. Now, you can see at A we do not have any degree of freedom. So, I do not want to assign any coordinate system, whereas at B and C we have the degree of freedoms. So, at these locations I will assign the coordinate system. So, at B and at C I will choose rotations as the coordinate directions. The rotation at B, that is theta B, as the first coordinate direction, and the rotation at C I am choosing it as the coordinate direction 2. So, based on this I can say that the displacement matrix, that is D is equals to, it is D1 and D2. So, D1 is displacement in the first coordinate direction. So, here in the first coordinate direction displacement is theta B, and the displacement in the second coordinate is theta C. So, this is the displacement matrix, right. So, once we have this, our next duty is to determine the force matrix. So, to determine the force matrix, we need to determine the fixed end moments. So, let us determine the fixed end moments. So, step number 2, the fixed end moments, right. So, you can see in the given loading diagram we have only 2 spans AB and BC. For these 2 spans we need to determine the fixed end moments, that is MF AB, I can write it as minus MF BA, as the AB span has symmetric loading. So, this is equals to minus WL square by 12. So, here load is 120 kilonewton. So, it is minus 120 into span is 4. So, it is 4 square divided by 12. So, this gives me a value of minus 160 kilonewton meter, right. So, this is MFAB and MFBA for the first span. Similarly, for the next span, that is MFBC minus MFCB is equals to, it is minus WL by 8. So minus of W is 120 kilonewton, sorry, W is 200 kilonewton. It is 200 into span is 3 meter divided by 8, which gives me a value of minus 75 kilonewton meter. So these are the fixed end moments. So now based on this fixed end moments, we will be able to determine the force matrix. Therefore, we know that force matrix is equals to force matrix F is equals to, it is Fi minus Fl. Fi minus Fl. So what is Fi? Fi is the internal forces, or is there any direct moment at the first coordinate and second coordinate, that we need to consider, and Fl is the moments at the first and second coordinates due to the external loadings. So for due to the external loadings we have some forces, whereas Fi it will remain 0 as there are no predefined moments in the first and second coordinate directions. So what I need to do here is F1I and F2I, they are 0, whereas F1L we need to determine, that is the net fixed end moment at the first coordinate direction. So at first coordinate direction we have two members BA and BC. So we need to consider the MFBA and MFBC for the calculation. So MFBA plus MFBC. So here the value of MFBA is 160 minus MFBC is 75. So this gives me a net value of 85 kilonewton meter. Similarly, F2L, that is the net fixed end moment at the second coordinate direction due to the external loads. So here we have only one member, that is MFCB. So as per our calculation, MFCB is plus 75 kilonewton meter. Therefore, the force matrix F is equals to, here as we have two values, I can write it as F1I minus F1L, then F2I minus F2L. So here F1I are 0, whereas F2 is F1L and F2L are, it is 85 and 75. So this gives me F matrix as minus 85 and minus 75 kilonewton meter. So this is the force matrix, right? So we have determined the displacement matrix and also we have got the force matrix. Our next duty is to determine the important thing, that is we need to determine the stiffness matrix. Okay, so let us determine the stiffness matrix. So here for determining the stiffness matrix, we need to consider two different cases. I will take this as step number 3 as stiffness matrix K. So as here the degree of freedom is 2, so there will be a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so K is equals to, we have to determine K11, K12, K21 and K22. So this stiffness matrix we need to establish. So, to determine these K11, K12, K21 and K22, which we call as stiffness coefficients, we need to consider two different cases. So, let us consider the first case, that is case 1. So, in this case 1, we need to apply a unit displacement at first coordinate. So, by inducing one unit displacement at the first coordinate directions, we need to determine what all are the forces developed at the first coordinate as well as at the second coordinate directions. So, for that, what I will do, I will consider the given structure with all the supports fixed. So, here you can see this is A point, this is B and this is a C joint. So, our B joint is the first coordinate direction. So, at this I will be inducing one unit positive rotation. So, if I rotate this member by 1 unit, then the beam will undergo a deformation something like this. Okay. So, here this rotation, that is the theta B here, it is 1 unit, whereas the theta A it is 0 and similarly theta C is also 0, right. So, now because of a unit rotation at first coordinate directions, the forces developed at first coordinate as well as at second coordinate, that is K11 and K21, these coefficients we need to determine. So, K11 stands for the force at first coordinate direction when the displacement is also at the first coordinate, whereas K21 stands for force at second coordinate direction when displacement is at first coordinate direction. So, we have to determine the K11 and K12. So, K11 is equals to, in the last class we have clearly discussed about how to determine the value of K. We have to use the slope deflection equations and we have to substitute the values of theta A, theta B, deflections and fixed end moments, all those things. Then we will arrive at a small term, that is 4 EI by L, right. So, I am going to use that 4 EI by L for each span. So, here you can see at B joint we have 2 members. So, for both the members I have to use 4 EI by L. So, for the BA member I am going to use 4 EI by L plus for BC member 4 EI by L. So, this is the force developed at first coordinate direction due to the implementation of 1 unit rotation at B, that is 4 EI by L for BA span, 4 EI by L for the BC span. Now, what is the span I need to substitute? So, if I substitute the span values, 4 EI by L for the first span, L is 4 meter plus the BC span, the L is 3 meter. So, 4 EI by 3. So, this gives me a value of K11 as 2.33 EI. So, this is the stiffness coefficient K11. Similarly, I need to determine how much is the force developed at the second coordinate, that is K21. In the previous session we have also determined how to determine the forces developed at the far end if you are inducing the displacement at the near end. So, whenever you are determining the forces at the far end, so the stiffness will be half of that, that is it is 2 EI by L. So, 2 EI, L is 3 meter, the BC span is 3 meter. So, this gives me a value of 0.67. This gives me a value of 0.67 EI, right. So this is the first case. Similarly, I need to consider one more case to determine the two more coefficients. Okay, see here. So let me consider the case 2. Case 2, where the unit displacement is induced. Unit displacement is induced at second coordinate. Right. So when I am inducing one unit displacement at the second coordinate directions, so what are the forces developed at the first coordinate as well as the second coordinate, that I need to determine. So let us see here. So I am going to consider the beam as it is with all supports fixed. So here this is point A, this is point B, and this is C. B is the first coordinate and C is the second coordinate. So at second coordinate I have to induce 1 unit rotation. So if I induce 1 unit rotation, then beam will deflect something like this. So here this rotation, that is theta C, is 1 and theta B is 0, whereas theta A is also 0, right. So because of this unit rotation at second coordinate direction, how much is the force developed at the first coordinate, that is K12, right, and also we need to determine how much is K22, that is force developed at second coordinate. So K12, you can see here, for BC member we have induced displacement at C, which is near end, and we are trying to determine the force at B, which is far end. So for this situation we have the formula 2 EI by L. So 2 EI, the L is 3 meter, so this is 0.67 EI, right, and K22, so K22, so we have induced the displacement at second coordinate and we are trying to determine the force at the same coordinate. So for this situations we have the 4 EI by L for each span. So at C we have only one span CB, so I am going to use 4 EI by L once. So it is 4 EI by L is 3 meter, so this is 1.33 EI, right. So now we have got all the coefficients K11, K21, K12 and K22. So based on this I can write the stiffness matrix. Therefore stiffness matrix K is equals to, so if you observe all the coefficients K11, K21 and so on, so we have EI as the common, so I will take out EI outside, EI, then the K matrix will be, it is 2.33, 0.67, 0.67 and 1.33. So this is the stiffness matrix, right. So basically in the stiffness matrix method we need three things. One is displacement matrix, second one is force matrix, and the third one is the stiffness matrix. So now we have all the three. So using all these three we can be able to determine the unknowns, that is the displacements. The unknown displacement here we have considered as theta B and theta C. So let us move on to the next step, that is step number 4, I think. Okay, that is calculate displacements. So we know that stiffness equation is, so the stiffness equation it is F equals to, it is D into, K into D. Force is equals to stiffness into displacement, right. So now I can use this as a basic equation for the calculation of the displacement, and we can determine. So as per our calculations, the force matrix F, it is minus 85 and minus 75, which is equals to K matrix. K matrix we have it as EI into 2.33, 0.67, 0.67, 1.33 into the displacement matrix. So displacement matrix is theta B and theta C. So we have to determine the theta B and theta C. So to determine theta B and theta C, so I can use either the matrix operations, or even you can use your calculators. So I will take this K matrix on the other side, so it will becomes inverse 2.33, 0.67, 0.67, 1.33 inverse into minus 85 minus 75. So here, so you can use the matrix operations, or even you can use the your calculators to determine the displacement, that is theta B and theta C values. So if you do that, you will get the theta B and theta C as 1 by EI into theta B, you will get it as minus 23.75, minus 23.75 and minus 44.34, 44.34. So these are the displacements or the rotations at the B and C joint. So now based on this, we will be able to determine the final end moments. Step number 5, final end moments. Okay. So I am going to use the slope deflection equations to determine the final end moments. So as per that, MAB is equals to, it is MFAB plus 2 EI by L into 2 theta A plus theta B minus 3 delta by L. So here we don't have any sinking, so the delta value will be 0. So MFAB, as per our calculations, MFAB is minus 160 plus 2 EI into L is 4 meter into theta A, it is 0 plus theta B, as per our calculation, it is minus 23.75 by EI. So it is minus 23.75 by EI. So this gives me a value of MAB as minus 171.875, minus 171.85 kilonewton meter. Similarly, if I do this for the other span MBA is equals to MFBA plus 2 EI by L plus 2 theta B plus theta A, then we will get it as plus 160 plus 2 EI by L as 4 into theta B. Theta B is 2 into minus 23.75 by EI, and theta A is 0, delta is also 0. So, this gives me a value of 136.26. 136.26 kilonewton meter. And similarly, if I continue to the next span, that is MBC, I will get minus 136.26 kilonewton meter. And lastly, for MCB, we will get the moment as 0 because the support C is hinge in the nature. So, once we do this, so what we need to do? We need to represent all these bending moments in the loading diagram. MAB, as per our calculation, it is minus 171.85, minus indicates anticlockwise moment. So, I represented the anticlockwise moment. Magnitude is 171.875 kilonewton meter. At B, we have plus 136.26 and minus 136.26. So, plus it is clockwise, minus it is anticlockwise. So, the moment is 136.26 kilonewton meter, right. And lastly, at C we have 0 moment. Okay. So, now based on this, we need to calculate the shear force values, then draw the shear force and bending moment diagrams. Okay. So, for doing that, what I will do, I will consider the free body diagram of each span separately. Okay. So, let me calculate that under the heading of step number 6, that is support reactions and maximum bending moment. Okay. So, let me consider the span AB. So, the free body diagram of span AB, it is something like this. AB, which is loaded with a UDL of 120 kilonewtons per meter, and this beam also carries the two end moments. One is 136.26 kilonewton meter and another one is 171.875 kilonewton meter. The span is it is about 4 meter. So, I will call this as RA and this as RBA, right. So, we need to determine the support reactions RA and RBA. So, for that, what I will do, I will implement the equilibrium conditions, that is algebraic sum of moments about A must be equals to 0. So, I will take the clockwise as positive. So, here you can see this 120 kilonewton, it creates a clockwise moment about A. So, it is a positive. So, 120 into 4 into acting at a distance of 4 by 2 minus this reacting components creates an anticlockwise moment. So, minus of RBA into its perpendicular distance is 4. Apart from this, we have one anticlockwise moment, another one is clockwise moment. So, minus 171.875 plus 136.26 equals to 0. So, this gives me a value of RBA, that is reacting component at B, as RBA as 162.96 kilonewtons. So, this is the reacting component at B. Similarly, we need to determine RA. So, to determine RA, I am going to implement f of y is equals to 0. That is algebraic sum of all the vertical forces must be equals to 0. So here RA and RBA, these two are acting vertically upwards, whereas this 120 kilonewton UDL, it is acting vertically downwards. So RA plus RBA minus, it is 120 into 4 equals to 0. So here we have two unknowns, RA and RBA, but RBA we have already found. If you substitute the value of RBA here, you will get RA, that is reaction at A, as 317.04 kilonewton. So this is the reaction at A. Apart from calculating the support reactions, we also need to calculate the maximum bending moment. So to calculate maximum bending moment, what we need to do, we need to draw the shear force diagram here. The reason why we need to draw the shear force diagram is, so we need to know where exactly the bending moment is maximum. So we also know one more thing, that wherever the shear force is 0, at that particular point the bending moment is maximum. So basically what I want to do, I want to know where exactly the shear force is 0. So with the help of the support reactions, let us draw the shear force diagram and determine the point where the shear force is 0. So at A point we have a reacting force RA as 317.04, which is acting vertically upwards as it is a positive. So this is 317.04. After that we have UDL. So 317.04 minus this UDL gives me a negative value, that is minus 162.96. So this is 162.96, a negative value. But at a B point we have a reacting force which is acting vertically upwards. It is a positive, it is a negative value. So it will end up with a 0. So this is positive shear force, it is negative shear force. This is a point where I can say the shear force is 0. Let us say it is at a distance of x. So I will transfer this, let us say ABC, the point D where the shear force is 0. Now I have to determine this, that is I need to know what is the x. So to determine the x value, I have to use the symmetric triangle concept. So this distance is x, then this distance it will be 4 minus x. Okay. So here x by 317.04, this ratio must be equals to 4 minus x by 162.96. So if you solve this, you will get the value of x as 2.64 meter, 2.64 meter. Right. Now at this point we need to determine the maximum bending moment at MD. So to determine MD, either you need to consider the left portion or a right portion, it is up to your wish. Here I am considering the left portion. So if I consider the left portion, on the left side we have RA, which is creating a clockwise moment. So it is 317.04 into perpendicular distance is 2.64 minus we have an anti-clockwise moment, it is 171.875, and also we have the UDL on this portion, that is also creating an anti-clockwise moment. So that it is 120 into 2.64 into 2.64 by 2, which gives us MD value as 246.93 kilonewton meter. So this is the maximum bending moment at D. This is about one span. Similarly, we need to consider the second span. So the FBD of the second span is something like this. Let us say this is B point and this is C, which has a concentrated load of 200 kilonewton at a distance of 1.5 meter. This span also carries a end moment 136.26 kilonewton meter. So let us say this is our BC and this is RC. Again, to determine these two support reactions, what I need to do, I need to impose the equilibrium conditions. So if I impose the equilibrium condition, that is algebraic sum of moments at B must be equals to 0, considering clockwise as positive, then this 200 kilonewton creates a clockwise moment. So 200 into its perpendicular distance is 1.5, minus we have an anti-clockwise moment. So 136.26 minus this RC creates an anti-clockwise moment. So RC into 3 is equals to 0. So from this we will be able to determine RC as 54.58 kilonewton, right? Then I need one more reacting component. So for that, let me impose the another equilibrium condition, that is summation of vertical forces must be equals to 0. So here RBC and RC, they are acting vertically upwards, and this 200 kilonewton is acting vertically downwards. So RBC plus RC minus 200 equals to 0, right? So we have the value of RC, substitute that, we will get the value of RBC as 145.42 kilonewtons, right? So here you can see the variation of the shear force diagram, right? So you can see RBC, it is 145, so it is a positive value, take it vertically upwards. Then we don't have any load, so maintain the constant. So it is 145.42 minus 200, it will be a negative value, that is a 54.58. So from here to here we don't have any load, so maintain constant, and this is 0, right? Now you can see here at this point the variation of the shear force is 0. It means at this point the bending moment will be maximum. So let us call this as E point. So we need to determine the maximum bending moment at E, that is ME. So here I am going to consider the right portion. So on the right side we have only one reacting force, which is creating an anti-clockwise moment. So right side anti-clockwise is positive. RC, that is 54.58 into its perpendicular distance is 1.5. So I will get maximum positive bending moment at ME as 81.87 kilonewton meter. So with the help of all these values, we need to draw the shear force and bending moment diagrams. See here. So I am going to project these things so that it is easy for us to draw the shear force and bending moment diagram. Okay, let us say this is SFD and this is the BMD. Okay, so SFD, it is just the combination of these two SFD diagrams. So I will just redraw as it is. It is 317.04 and 162.96, 145 Okay, this is something about the shear force diagram. Similarly, we need to draw the bending moment diagram. You can see. So here we have represented the bending moment just as we have represented the arrow mark. So we need to mark them. So here we have marked the arrow towards the downward. So you can mark the negative bending moment. Here also the arrow marks are downward. So you can mark those also as negative. And here the bending moment is 0. So I am marking this. At D point we have a positive bending moment of 246.93. So I will mention that here 246.93, and at point E we have 81.87. 81.87. So because of the UDL, the variation in the bending moment diagram will be parabolic in the nature. So it is a parabolic moment, and because of the concentrated load, the variation will be linear. So this is a positive bending moment, negative bending moment, positive bending moment, this is negative. Right. So this is how we need to draw the shear force and bending moment diagrams with the help of the stiffness matrix method. Right. So basically what we have done, we have implemented the stiffness matrix method to analyze the structures. In that method we have calculated the displacement matrix, then force matrix, then also the stiffness matrix. With the help of the stiffness equations we have determined the rotations, that is the unknown displacements. Then with the help of those unknown rotations and the slope deflection equations we have calculated the end moments. And the next one is the simple mathematics, that is we have used those end moments to calculate the support reactions and also the maximum bending moments. Right? Okay. Thank you.